say it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So good afternoon, beautiful people. This is your host, Matthew. Day Night Podcast, episode number 95. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their weekend, enjoying their day. Um, Getting close to football season. So hopefully everybody's getting ready. We got another good one for y'all today. Hopefully you like it. Um, as always, beautiful people, your thoughts become your belief, and belief, you create that reality. And so we got Mark in San Antonio, our co-host. See what he got
What's
to say
up?
today.
No, I'm just gonna say hello, everybody. Beautiful Saturday. I'm glad to be off today after like a month working on Saturdays. I'm a little under the weather, so bear with me if I cough a lot, y'all. Pardon me for that. But like always, thank you for tuning in and watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Same old every time. STS. Stay consistent. Trust the process. Be and stay focused. But on that note, I'm ready to get it started. This is an interesting one that we're going to talk about today. So I'm looking forward to getting into that one.
All right, all
All right,
right.
guys.
All right, so beautiful people. All right, so I just had to preface with saying I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. So this topic, it may seem kind of dark for some people, but like I said, there's nothing wrong. I'm not going through anything. I'm not stressed out. Like I open up almost every time. I have my moments when I'm just thinking, I'm observing. And for this particular one, I was just thinking about all the stuff that's going on around us throughout the world, you know, here in the States. And it's just something that just came across my mind. So the topic for the day is, are you afraid of transcending? Now, as always, I always do a little bit of research. So for some, the transcending, it has like two different meanings to it. When I say transcending, I always say transcending, meaning that's when you actually pass away, die, however you want to term it, and you transcend to, the spiritual realm. For some, heaven, whatever you feel as though it's the next after we leave this earth or this body. So that's what I mean when I say transcending. But the transcending actually means, I'm just going to read the definition. So it's kind of sort of the same, but like I said, mine is just as far as just transcending to the next level, as far as out of here, out of this human body. So transcending spirituality refers to the idea of going beyond the conventional boundaries of spiritual experience, understanding, or practice. It involves reaching a higher or more profound state of spiritual awareness, often beyond the confines of specific religious beliefs, rituals, or practices. And then it has like enlightenment or awakening. For some people, that's what transcending is. Unity with the divine. And that's what I was saying, like Christians believe, passing, going to heaven and so forth. Um, and then inner transformation, basically just transcending from one mindset onto the next. So, like I said, transcending has so many different definitions to it. For some, that may mean one thing. For others, it may mean something else. So, for me, what we're going to talk about today, as far as transcending, transitioning, dying, passing away, like I said, or however you are coin it, that's what we're going to talk about. So, like I said, I was just thinking, and I always sit back and I observe people, just as far as how they react to things and how they respond. I may be wrong, but this is just from my perspective, from my observation. It just seems like a lot of people are fearful of death. And I always ask, and I ask a lot of Christians this, like, if you feel as though that you're doing the right thing, and if you truly believe that when you leave here, you're going to heaven, be with God, Jesus, again, whatever it is that you believe, why are you fearful of death? And it seems like so many people do the best as far as what they can to not die, Now, this may sound kind of crazy. I'm not saying we just willfully just let stuff happen to us, eat the wrong food, live recklessly. I'm not saying that's how we should live. But at the same time, I do kind of understand and understand some people where they say, well, hell, life is short. I'm going to live my life. Whatever happens, happens. So for those that say that, in a sense, I guess that is not fearing death. Um, but for those it seem like everything that we do, we're trying to prevent it from happening, opposed to just saying, you know what it is. As long as it's not a painful death or a violent death or gruesome, whatever the case is, then why not just let it be? And I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe people would be a little bit more peaceful, be a little bit more at ease, because if you're comfortable as far as what you believe in and where you're going after this, then to me, it shouldn't be no fear, you know? And it seems like so many people hold on to this life, whether they believe it or not, subconsciously or consciously, they really do. So that's just something I was just sitting back and observing, and it's like, it just seemed like so many people are afraid to die or transition. So that's just the first part of my thought. And I'm curious what you got to say, Mark.
Well, I'm guilty because I'm one of those that used to feel like that, where I would say, I don't want to say afraid to die, but I was kind of like, man, I don't want to die yet. Because what happens after that? That's it. Like, there's no more you. Life is done. What happens in the afterlife? So I was one of those people, and still to this day, I say it, like you just stated, where people say, I'm gonna live my life to the fullest and just do all I can do to enjoy it while I'm here. But I'm not saying in the aspect of just being reckless and just act crazy and do all this crazy shit. Just meaning enjoy life because it's not guaranteed. It's a short time here that we here. It seemed like it's forever. I remember when we was kids, it seemed like it'd be forever. But now that we grown, these days blown by like crazy. So I'm like, yeah, I can't afford to be sitting around like being stressful and worried about things. So I'm on that mission where, like I said, I want to enjoy life, make the most of it, not just sit back and take it a day and complain and just always be in a bad mood. So while we here, I feel like might as well make the most of it, and do what you can. So it's funny that you said that because it made me think of Jay when
Mm-hmm.
he was sick and he was on his decline, and we would always talk. And I remember before he would always say, I ain't scared of death. I lived a good life. I know I'm going to heaven. And, he would say, a lot of people scared, kind of like you said. But then when he was on that
Mm-hmm.
decline, his whole attitude changed. And he literally told me, like, little big brother, I ain't ready yet. There's so much more I wanted to do. And this is not fair. I mean, I'm young. And then he said, this is what he said. I'm going to live my life these last few years and do everything I want to do. So he had a bucket list, as everybody stated, they
Mm-hmm.
have a bucket list. So he literally went down the list and started doing things that he wanted to do. So to me, it's kind of like he was kind of checking out because I guess he felt like he was tired. He told me he was tired of fighting. So he told me he was ready. Like if it happens, he said he wouldn't have no remorse,
Mm-hmm.
no second thoughts or doubt about it. So he just started doing any and everything. Again, not negative, just things to enjoy himself. So I feel like that could be a easy way of saying you giving up, but at the same time, on the other side, I feel like it's not so much giving up. It's just like I said, you want to do what you can while you here and
Mm-hmm.
just make the most of it. Now, I always say to kind of go about what you said about people scared. I say I'm gonna do the best I can, not to speed it up. In other words, like some people drink a lot, smoke, and do stuff to
Mm-hmm.
just tear that body down. Where to me, that's speeding up the process. And hell, some people do it and never die, or not never die, but they take a long time before they pass. So it's kind of catch 22 that some
Yeah.
people that do all that abuse to their body sometimes don't even pass because they trying to take themselves out. And for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, it ain't happening. So I always used to say, maybe that was God telling you that you ain't ready yet. It's not your time. Because I'm a firm believer on that as well. When it's your time, it's your time. I don't care what you do to prevent it. Now, of course, if a freak accident happened, that happens. But then sometimes I ask myself, was that really supposed to happen, or was it
Mhm.
an accident? You know,
Yeah.
so it's real deep when you think about that because I be seeing how people pass away. What's the name just said he omitting his death and he's ready to enjoy life. The uh the TV host, God, I think it was David Letterman or God, one of them. He's 74 and he just announced that he's on his deathbed. And he pretty
Oh
much
wow.
said that too. He was like, I'm
I,
gonna enjoy life and I'm ready to die. I lived a good life. So now he's gonna go out with a bang. You know, God, I can't remember his name. But that just goes to show you, like he was saying. Some people, I guess, get to the point where when they older, they feel like they ready. So they're not gonna fight the inedible and they just gonna, take it when it comes and just kind of enjoy life. But me, for myself, like I said, I'm gonna do everything I can in a positive way. Because I always tell people, like when I'm training people, and they always talk about, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I said, yeah, but why speed it up? If you have the opportunity to prevent it, and when I mean prevent it, I mean take care of yourself. Now, again, if something freak happens and you just pass, and clearly it was your time, but I'm not going to allow something to happen to me where I can have that control. Whatever I can do to control my life, I'm gonna do that. But again, I can walk outside and some freak dude could come by and shoot up the place, God forbid. But I'm just saying, all the right stuff I've been doing, and it's still what happens. So that's why I've come to the conclusion where I can't worry about it. Because
mhm.
if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But while I'm here, I'm just going to make the most of it without stressing it. That day is going to come, it's going to come.
Yeah. Something I was just thinking about what you was saying as far as as far as people the way they eat and the way they live their life. I think for me, it's not so much preventing death, it's just living a healthy lifestyle and being able to enjoy your life while you're here and not have so many complications or illness. So I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's what some people kind of misconstrued when you're like, well, why not live healthy opposed to living recklessly?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and you have the opportunity to live the same lifespan, just
Right.
healthier and enjoy it a little bit more opposed to unhealthy. So I just
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to touch on that because that just kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, because I remember mom, she was kind of like Jay. When I
Mm-hmm.
used to go home, she would always say, Matt, I'm just ready to go. I'm tired of this place.
Yeah.
I'm just sick of it. I can't believe God will allow this stuff to happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
just terrible. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because once she realized that she was a little sick, and she would say that, and then I would mention to her about Dr. Sabi and the
Right.
remedies and stuff he had, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you think that would help me?" So it was
Yeah.
interesting. On one side of the coin, she was like she
Right.
was ready to go, but then the other side, she wasn't ready to go because she was actually looking for some type of lifeline that would actually help her and allow her
Yeah.
to live a little bit longer. I don't know if she
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to live longer or just healthy while she was
Right.
still here. Because
Yeah.
I think for me, and that's my biggest thing is I want to live here as long as I can, but I want it to be healthy. I don't want to be sick or in a home and somebody got to take care of me. Like, how
Right.
Candy had to take care of dad when he was sick. That's,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say fearful of. That's what I'm trying to prevent. So it's
Right.
not so much trying to prevent death, it's just trying to prevent having to live, with a sickness or illness that's going to put a burden on other people to have to take care of me. And like that's
Mm-hmm.
my biggest thing. And I do my best to try not try, I do my best not to think of um gruesome deaths because that's one of the ways I don't want to go. I was
Mm-hmm.
like that. When it's time for me to transition, I wanted to be either in my bed at home,
Mm-hmm.
not in a hospital somewhere, not no car accident, not no freak accident. That's how I want to transition.
Right.
But I'm still on the side of I want to stay, but at the same time, I want to not want to go. But if I do, I won't have any, qualms about it.
Right.
But because I'm reading now and learning more, when I transition, because I really believe we come back. And I don't, like I said before, I don't want to come back. So that's like my whole purpose now is getting myself right, reaching my higher self so I can experience everything I have to experience in this lifetime and not have to redo it and come back. So if anything, I'm not going to put fear on it. If that's one thing I'm afraid of is not getting it right this time to whereas I have to come back, and once you come back, you got to start all over. It's repeat. It ain't like you got no flashbacks like, man, when I was here last time, I made that mistake. So I'm not going to make it
Right.
this time. It don't work like that. You start from ground zero, from a brand new baby again, and you got to learn all that stuff again and go through almost the same things. So that's on the lines for me as far as wanting to um, get up out of here the right way. And if I want to say afraid, that's what I'm afraid of. Is not accomplishing, reaching my higher self while I'm here. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's a pretty good point you made about being healthy while you're here. So that's ideally, I think. I myself want that. I think the people that usually take care of themselves pretty much feel that same way. So I'm like this for me. I ain't, I mean, if I pass away, I pass away. But when I say this, I mean simply, I would like to live as long as I possibly can. You know, I never forget when I went on a cruise a few years ago, and it was this old school cat. He's like 84, and he was working out. He was just so proud of himself, and he was talking like, "Hey, young fella, what's up?" He was just proud of himself. He was going around literally the whole gym bragging to everybody. He said, "How old do you think I am?" I said, "I don't know, about 40, 45." Hey, no, I appreciate that. I'm 84, man. Look at me. I'm stronger and better than some of these guys of your age. And I was like, wow. I said, I want to be like you when I get older, just like joking. But he said, I'm not doing this to try to get women. He said, I'm doing it because I want to be as healthy as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just telling me how he never smoked, never did drugs, nothing, his whole adulthood. I was like, nothing? Like, come on, he had to do something. He's like, no, I ain't do anything. He said, when you do that, it's a challenge because he said it's hard for one, but he
Mm-hmm.
said you live a healthier life, like you just said. He said, I want to be healthy as long as possible. He said, my time come is going to come, but as long as I'm controlling it, he said he's going to take care of himself. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's pretty dope. So that's kind of how I am the same way. I'm gonna do what I can, like I was saying a minute ago, the best of my ability that I can control, and then whatever happens is going to happen. But I just feel like some people are scared, so they do make the comment where, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So they just don't care and they just do whatever the hell they want because they
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's their way of coping with it, and whatever happens is going to happen. So can you fault somebody for that? I mean, it's kind of like that's their prerogative, but at the same time, they probably going through some kind of dark, deep hurt and pain, and they don't know how to come through it. So the only way is by saying, "Oh well, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die having fun." Like
Mm-hmm.
to each his own. I don't too much agree with that because I'm like, you can have fun good ways, clean ways, without you know
Yeah.
uh challenging yourself or getting closer to death because you want to live a little bit more reckless. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's to each his own, but the healthy way is a good point. I'm glad you said that because I was going to say that. But yeah, if you stay healthy best you can, I mean, I feel like that's the way to go. Be healthy. And your time comes, and it's going to come. Because it's a guy at work, and we was talking about Dallas and the Eagles, and he said, "So are you from Philly?" I said, "Yeah, born and raised, man." He says, "You always been an Eagles fan?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "How long you been?" I said, "I moved here in '91." And he
Yeah.
looks at me and go, "What? I was 3 years old." And I looked at him, and the reason why I'm bringing this up because this cat looked like he was my age.
Damn.
And he's like, "Man, I can't believe you fit." I said, "You a little baby boy." And I just started teasing him. I was like, "I really thought you was the same age as me." He's like, "No, man." I said, "You had a rough life or what?" And I was just joking with him. And he was just saying, yeah, he had an abusive parent, and a lot of people in his family was going through drugs. So he just had a hard life, and it affected him. And he aged real badly because this cat, I think he was 50, he like 40 something. So I feel like sometimes people get sick or something happened to them. Some people kind of, I hate to say give up, but they kind of let it go and be like, oh, well. Hey, life is life. I'm gonna do whatever I can and enjoy myself. But I mean, to me, you're gonna transcend, like you said, that's gonna happen. I used to be fearful. I ain't gonna lie. I used to think like that. Like, if I go to heaven when I was younger, oh, I can't do nothing bad because you know how we used to tease each other with as kids. You going
Yeah.
bad, you going to hell. So I always kind of felt like, yeah, I need to do right, so I'm gonna go to hell when I get old, when I die, and so that used to always heart me a lot. So I always felt like
Mm.
that was death was scary, scary for me is because where would I go? Would I go to heaven or so that when I was younger is what made me kind of change my ways and realize that, you know what, if your time
Mhm.
is your time, but just do what you can. Like you
Yeah.
said, healthy, stay healthy. But, I told this guy at work the other day, I'm gonna enjoy life, as much as I can. Because he said, you work 6 days a week and you train. I was like, yeah. He said, man, you trying to kill yourself. I said, no, I'm just enjoying it. I said, I'm not gonna sit back and just and mope and
Right.
complain. I said, I'm gonna do what I can, best of my ability, so I just feel like if you take care of yourself, you shouldn't be worried about what's going to happen if you transcend because you're doing
Yeah.
what you can control it. Like I said earlier.
I remember talking to Dad one time when I went home, and he was at a point to where he was like contemplating a lot of things he did in his life, and
Mhm.
like I could actually hear, how Dad, he never really showed any fear
Yeah.
or any
Mm-hmm.
worry. And when I was talking to him for the first time, I could like see the fear in his eyes. I could just feel it. He was like really concerned about the things that he did before
Mm-hmm.
and where he's going to go after that once he leaves. And he was just talking about all the things that he did and he did wrong. It's like a lot of his focus was on that opposed to the things
Mm-hmm.
that he did good. So I could just imagine, when you get to 60, 70 years old and you start to realize like, hey, I know it's not that much more time left here.
Right.
And you just start thinking about all the stuff that you did wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
if you actually, for those that actually do believe in heaven and hell, I
Yeah.
can imagine what that feeling is like, just knowing like, dang, all the damn bad stuff I did kind of
Right.
outweighed the good.
Mm-hmm.
So like really, where am I going after this?
Yeah.
Because like even at 51, I think about it, but not to the point to where I'm at 75, 80, and I know that at any time, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you got ailments and stuff that's going on. Because I know
Right.
right now I'm getting tired of everywhere I go. And it's mainly senior people that saying, oh my God, you're still young. You're so young. And I'm sitting there like, damn, I'm 51 and I'm still being called being called young.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, I'm not at that point yet to whereas
Yeah.
it's like really in the back of my mind is like, damn, I'm that close to transitioning up out of here. And am I prepared? And that's something that when I was driving home from the gym, I was thinking, I was like, well, I was kind of saying last week, our preparation here is really to build up as far as when we transition out of here. And like I was saying last week, the focus is shifted. It's more so
Right.
just living this life and trying to get as much as you can while you're here. In my opinion, that so many people are neglecting their inside and truly working on themselves. And when you transition out of here, and that's what really got me to want to talk about this today is because I'm like, man, it's like some of the stuff that people are doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if you was to leave tomorrow, you'll be right
Yeah.
back out here. You know, if you one of those that believe in reincarnation, or even if you believe in heaven and hell, it's like, damn, have you really stopped and thought about the stuff that you're doing, the consequences behind it?
Yeah.
And I just think about like so many people that protect themselves. I mean, nobody want to get robbed or, you know, uh, murdered or, attacked or
Right.
whatever. But it just seemed like it's so much focus on that as far as protecting yourself and your assets and stuff like that. That's still fear. whether you look at it or not. Whether you say, well, nope, I'm protecting myself, it's just in case. That's still fear. And like we talked about before, a long time ago, one of the podcasts, fear is the fear of not knowing
Right.
of what's going to happen. So you're still living in fear opposed to just living in peace,
Right.
taking it every day as it comes and just let the chips fall as they may, as the saying goes. So yeah, I was just thinking about that. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Yeah, that does. Excuse me. But I just think about what you said about when the older cat was telling you you still young, and that's one thing too. For some people, now I ain't gonna say everybody, but I think when you're younger, you don't even think about death like that, or what's going to happen if I pass, unless you one of
mm-hmm.
them people that's conscious and you just already on that level. But I think once you get to our age, 50 and then above, I think that's when it settles in that hey, I'm 50, which is still technically young, but it's still getting up there. Like I was the other day, I was just sitting there thinking, like, damn, I'm 51. We're gonna be 52 next year. I was like, wow, like this, we almost gonna be in our 60s soon enough.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes it's okay to be ignorant and not realize that your age, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
some people get in their mind, oh, once I get old, it's close to me for death. And like you
Yeah.
said, alluded to, if you stay healthy, I don't even think your mindset will be on that because you
No.
taking care of yourself for the most part. So you won't even worry about when you're in your 60s and 70s. Now,
Mm-hmm.
again, like I said, if something unfortunately happens, that's what you can't control. That's totally different. But as long as health wise, you do what you're supposed to. Personally, I feel like it shouldn't be a bother to you that much when you get older,
Mm-hmm.
because you know that for the most part you are healthy. So when you get in your 60s and 70s, yeah, you up there, but you still up there healthy, so you won't have to worry about it as much.
Right.
But I feel like people that do bad, not bad, but people that's living that kind of reckless might realize that, yeah, I can go any minute. But again, I ain't no psychiatrist, but I feel like that's them omitting that they kind of like, fuck it, if it happens, it's gonna happen. They kind of reckless because they ain't really happy with their life. So maybe in a sense, dare I say this, maybe they expecting for it to happen. So they take them out of this world. But I remember a friend of mine would say that, man, I just died, get out of this miserable world and just I'm tired of being hurt and sick and all this. So that particular person was always like wanting death.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, you saying all that, but you probably gonna live longer than most people because you are expecting it and
Yeah.
you want it. So I mean, I feel like because he had a lot of shit go through his life, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like he was kind of giving up in a sense. So I feel like that's the psychological part of it. If you take care of yourself and you don't get caught up, I think you shouldn't have to worry about when that day comes. But you gotta prepare, like you said, preparation, because when you do get there and you ain't ready for it, and kind of like with Jay and Mom, I can speak more so with Jay because I was with him the whole
Yeah.
process. Is that he started hitting him real quick, like, damn, this
Mm-hmm.
is it. I could go any minute now, and it's sad because I think I've been thinking about him a lot because his birthday is in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and I remember we had a birthday breakfast the day before he passed. And I just remember him telling me, little big brother, I'm tired. I said, are you tired or are you tired? He looked me dead in my eyes and said, I'm tired. So I think people know when they're ready to tap out. And then, he said, I'm not scared no more. I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I feel like once you get to that point, that's when
Yeah.
you know. You kind of expecting it. You actually, I feel like some people hold on longer
Mm-hmm.
than they should just so they can say their last goodbyes or whatever. So I think that's another thing. Some people hold on long enough to where they feel content and they have peace with themselves.
Yeah. Dang. I had a thought. It just totally it's escaped me. It just went out. Oh, that's what I want to say. So I'm just curious as far as what you think about this. So when I was talking to the Kim, and I think she had surgery, she was more so talking about when she had her children.
Mm-hmm.
But when you had your surgery, I don't know if you remember this. You know how they always give you the anesthesia before you go under. I had surgery 3 times. Every
Mm-hmm.
time Soon as they gave it to me, I remember talking to the doctor, and then the next thing I know, I woke up. And
Yeah.
from that time that they put me under, I was not dreaming. It
Right.
was like
Right.
this total darkness. And she was like,
Right.
I wonder if that's what death truly is. Like once
Right.
that's it, once the lights turn out, that's it.
Right. That's
Ain't
it.
no
Yeah.
going to no heaven. You ain't going
Right.
to
Right.
no another level or nothing like that. That's just it.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
was like, damn, that's deep because I didn't think
Yeah.
about it before until
Right.
she said that. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Because when I remember every time that I went under, that was it. And the next thing I know, they was waking me up. And I
Yeah.
remember I wasn't dreaming, nothing.
Right. Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, do you feel as though if you had that same experience? And does that make sense to you?
That makes 100%. And it's funny because after you said that right away, it took me back and I was like, damn, I don't remember nothing after, like you just said. I remember the doctor telling me this is the procedure, we're gonna give you this, you're gonna be under, you're gonna be in surgery for about an hour, hour and a half. And I remember saying, oh, for real? And I woke up and I'm in the recovery room. I was like, hold
Yeah.
up, is surgery over? They're like, yeah, you've been out of surgery for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, there ain't no way in hell. I said, I don't remember anything. I just remember the doctor going
Yeah.
over the procedure. And then, like you said, I didn't have no dreams, nothing. It was just like amnesia almost. And then you
Hmm.
wake up, and it's just like they telling you that you already had surgery. So yeah, that makes 100% sense. And I'm just
Yeah.
like tripping off that you brought that up because now you got me thinking about it. Yeah, that is curious if that's how it would be once you pass. Like that's it, nothing. Lights out, nothing.
Yeah.
Because
Now that
yeah,
would make me afraid because when that's it, that's it.
yeah.
So I think that's why some people might be afraid because
Yeah.
once that day come and you're gone, you're gone.
Mhm.
So I was like, damn. I was like, I don't even
Yeah.
want to think about it now. So that kind of do, in my opinion, make you kind of want to hold on and not want to
Yeah.
go.
Right.
Plus just being in the ego and in the flesh or whatever you want to call it, it's wonderful. It
Mhm.
feels good, you know. And to
Exactly.
not think that you're able to experience some of the things that we have here, that kind of could
Mhm.
make you be a little hesitant to, kind of want to get up out of here.
Mhm.
So that's a deep thing for me that I think about a lot. It's like
Hell yeah.
I don't want that to be it. If that's it, then man,
Right.
let me just stay as long as I can.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. That's what I was alluding to earlier about when you in your 50s. For some reason, back in the day, we always felt like 50 is old and it's almost the end of time, but no, it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, that guy that was at the gym, he was 80 something and he's running around
Mhm.
like he's 25. So I feel like if you do take care of yourself for the most part, it won't hit you. But you're right. I feel the same way. It's like, damn, I gotta do what I can. I ain't ready for that yet. Cause once it's it, that's it.
Mhm.
So that's why I always say do the best you can while you're here. Because when that day comes, like you said, that's it. Lights out. No questions asked. And then that's why I was also thinking that's probably the worst way to go for me is a slow death.
Yeah.
Meaning you know you're gonna pass, but it's a process before you get there. Because that to me would be so psychologically detrimental because you know it's coming, but you just don't know when. But you got to go through it every day,
Mhm.
expecting that might be the day. So yeah, that would be my biggest fear: the slow, painful, medical, some kind of medical problem.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't like talking about it. I remember mom used to say that, don't even talk about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would not want to go slow. You know, that would be something crazy for me because that means you gotta think about it. It's gonna be really
Mhm.
fucking with your mental. So, God forbid, hopefully no time soon. But if it's quick, painless, not painless, but just fast and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people that's passing away and it takes a year before they pass. Yeah, that's a lot to take on. And
Yeah.
say
I
that,
don't know if you've seen it, but I don't know if I sent it to you or not. But there was this dude, I think he was 72, and he was running against high school kids. I believe it was high
Mhm.
school. Like, he wasn't running against older people. But this
Yeah.
dude had some speed on. He beat him too. I
Uh-huh.
mean, he ain't smoke him, but he beat him bad enough to where
Right.
as a 72-year-old, I mean, this dude was running like a Olympic athlete. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
like, old people run. and they moving
Right.
the arm. This dude had a full out sprint. The form,
Yeah.
everything was perfect.
Uh,
72 years old. I was like, that's crazy.
yeah.
So that just made me think of that when you was talking about taking care of yourself and living right and
Mhm.
being healthy.
Yeah.
I think that is the perfect example as
Yeah.
far as like doing it right and being able to still function like that at
Right.
72, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other day I was talking to my insurance agent, and she does life insurance, and she was like, yeah, because I took the life insurance off because I already had some with the military. And she's like, yeah, you need to get back on that life insurance. You need something. So that
Mhm.
was another thing that prompted me to think about this and just want to talk about it because, like I said, it seemed like there's so much preparation for like staying here, but that's like my main focus is why aren't we preparing ourselves for that's if you believe it. If you don't believe it, then I get it. It makes sense.
Right.
But if you believe in something, whether it's reincarnation, going to heaven, um, I
Mhm.
just sit back and like, this should be totally different. Not that I'm judging, it's just like I don't get how on one side that people are living in fear, but at the same time, they're not in preparation to go to that next level.
Mhm.
So it's like you have to pick and choose. Either you're going to not be in fear and you're just going
Right.
to prepare yourself and be ready, or you're going to live
Mhm.
in fear and just stay there and not even worry about going to the next level, right? If that's the atheist or whatever. But
Mhm.
it's just really interesting to me that so many people just seem like, they're so afraid of
Mhm.
transcending to that next level.
Yeah, I think part of it, yeah, if you real religious or what your belief is the unknown. Like to me, if you the more religious type and you do believe in the heaven and hell, and I think that was a perfect point you just said. If you doing wrong, and we used to say this as kids, if you do wrong, you're going to hell. So if you know that and you ain't doing nothing to change your life, you kind of putting yourself in that position if you're that person to be worried about how you're going to transcend after death. So to me, it's kind of like, why would you allow yourself to go through all this heartache while you're here, knowing that if you're doing wrong by whatever you're doing wrong by, as they say, when you go to Judgment Day or whatever, it's going to be bad. Then you shouldn't even be trying to do wrong while you're here. Make the most of it. And I don't mean you have to live in fear, but just do good, conscious things that you know is not going to be something that's going to have you worried when that day comes when you pass away. So it's kind
Yeah.
of funny, not funny, but it's kind of interesting to me when people do have fear like that of passing away and worry what's going to happen to them. Because you're doing right, and that's why I was saying, Jay used to always say that. I know I ain't going to hell because I did this, and that. I ain't worried about nothing. So I feel like if that's how you are, then you shouldn't be too worried about death because you know that you did and had a good life. So when it comes to that moment of transcending, you know you on good terms. But if you somebody that's doing wrong and you know it, well, I mean, what are you going to be surprised about or worried about when you kind of cause and effect handling that situation on what you're doing, the decisions you make. Now, some people may say, well, that sounds like you're trying to live in fear and just scared to do anything and not live. I mean, again, you can live without being reckless. I don't feel like you can live, you don't have to live and do crazy stuff to say I'm living. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like some people will be like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm gonna die anyway, so just do whatever the hell they want. I'm like, if that's your way of doing it, teach his own. But I mean, to me, if you know that, then why do it? But that's what makes people people. So they can ask me why you do it the way you do it at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this, because I'm Christina made this comment. She
yeah.
said that she's not afraid, she's not fearful of death just for her kiddos. So do you have that same mindset as far as you're not afraid of death, but you're afraid for your children? Um, I don't know. I was just sitting there thinking when I read it, when I first read it, I never really even thought about it in
Yeah.
that sense because I don't know if she mean by because if they do transition early, then they didn't have opportunity to live their full life. And, then it'll be hurtful, not hurtful, but it'll be unfortunate that they weren't able to do that. And I don't know if that's what she's afraid of as far as for her children. But I'm just seriously just trying to think about it. I think I won't be afraid. I'll just be more so concerned that if they were prepared, as far as like I was saying, um, just being ready as far as just once you transition out of here and you not have to come back, because our purpose, again, I know I keep saying this, our purpose here is to experience true love and to learn what that means and then operate in it before we actually transition. And if they don't do that before they transition, before they, get to be our age, then unfortunately they'll have to come back. And I'm just curious if that's what she meant by that. And how do you feel about that? What's your stance on that?
Yeah, I'm curious as well, Christina. Elaborate a little bit more because I'm thinking, do you mean like you never want to bury your kids because they shouldn't be cheated life at an early age? Because if you pass away and if you lived a good life, like with mom and dad, they left us here, but we all living our lives and we okay. So I don't know what aspect she means as far as your kids. Now, this is gonna sound real impersonal and sensitive, but if you have one of your kids and they doing something, like I said, that's not feasible to keep their life going, then that's kind of cause and effect. Now, God, I don't want nothing to happen to any of my kids, but if something happened and it's misfortune, it's gonna be hurt. But I I don't want to sound so insensitive when I say this, but if it happens, I think it'll be hard to cope with, but it'd be easy to cope with if it was something like that, as opposed to them being detrimental to themselves, where it allowed them to have a short lifespan. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like when Deanna had a car accident, and I saw that car, and I was like, "Girl, you got an angel watching you because you should not be walking out." That was a little itty bitty little go kart. So
Yeah.
stuff like that, that to me would be hard for me because it would have been a quick life. She's only 29.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that would be, if that's what Christina means when she said
Yeah,
I
that's
worry
probably
about
what
my
she
kids.
meant.
But if they
Okay.
doing right, I feel like if you raise them, and dad used to say this, all you can do is, know that you did right by them, just pray and know that they're gonna do the right thing. But I feel like when that, it's hard because you tell me what you think about this, or as far as when it's your time is your time. Do you believe that? Do you believe sometimes when people pass, that was their journey was to be a long lifespan, was to live for whatever reason, or you just feel like it was cheat of death, and it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. Because that's one thing I always think about when people pass away, and you always hear people say, "Oh, it's too soon. Why?
Mhm.
This person is so young." One thing about mom and dad, when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you lost your parents." I'm like, "Yeah, but as much as I miss them, I have no regrets because dad outlived lots of people, as did mom. So they had a full lifespan. So to me, it goes back to what we were saying about how you take care of yourself, what you do in that life. If you live in a life and you being lazy, you're not being productive, you ain't doing anything to really do good for yourself, to me, you ain't cheating life because you ain't doing anything. But somebody that's trying to do good and do right and they pass early, to me, that's somebody that got cheated life because they were doing all the good things and right things. But if you do the right things, you live to be 80, 90, I feel like you had a good life. So it shouldn't be as hard to accept that because you did everything that you wanted to do while you was on earth. So I feel like that's important, is what you do while you here.
Okay, so I just want to read um, Christina's comment or response. She says, "No, I meant they would be able to be prepared for death." And then she says, "And no one should bury their kids. That's horrible." So I think, like I was saying, she meant more so them not being prepared and kind of what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
and just not being, I can't get it out, not being ready So I think she's more so on the lines of what I'm talking about, as far
Mhm.
as living life, experiencing it. And if you transition at such a young age, you weren't prepared because if you're 19, 20 years old, you just really starting your life. And then you
Mhm.
weren't prepared. And it's unfortunate that, you'll be up out of here. Um, so I think that's what she was talking about. And that's what her response was.
Yeah.
No, I was just sitting here thinking I lost the damn thought again.
Yeah.
Oh man. Damn. Anyways, you go because I don't forgot what the hell I was gonna say.
Yeah. Oh, well, just to kind of comment on that, I mean, I guess I see it differently. I hear what you're saying, but to me, when I hear people say prepared, I don't know how I mean, if you older, and like I said numerous of times, you live a life, so you will be better prepared. But if you're young, I don't think you're thinking about that. That's what I mean. When you're that age, you shouldn't be thinking about death anyway. So I don't think you will be prepared for that because that's not on your mind. I mean, we all think we can go at any time, but I don't think you will ever be prepared for it because I know that wasn't my mindset when I was 21, 22, you
Yeah.
know? So I think at that age, young, yeah, it shouldn't happen to one of your kids. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends on how they pass. If they lived a crazy, reckless life, they kind of created
But,
that narrative. But if you pass away, like I said, unfortunate drive by or somebody got caught up in a domestic, something that's out of your control, that's when it's
mhm.
wrong because you wasn't prepared for that. You
Right.
just was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But if you live in a crazy life, you actually preparing yourself to die because you're not being careful with what you're doing. You're being
Right.
careless. So to me, if you're young and you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, and you kind of creating that narrative for what your life may be, like drug dealers or drug addicts, like you can't sit there and feel sorry for them because if they know somewhat that's wrong and they have their reasons. I'm not knocking anybody because everybody has an addiction, but at the same time, that's part of your Achilles heel. You can't sit there and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened to my son or my daughter." If
Yeah.
you did everything in your power to guide them and show them, and they still, then that's something that's why I was asking you, how do you feel about maybe it was their time? Do you believe that some people aren't meant to live a long life, or is it just they created it?
Now that one right there, because always pose that question. It was more so when I was talking about it's more like a religious topic, and we're talking about God or Jesus, and I will always ask, well, why would God allow? Because some people say it's God's timing. It was meant to be like you said. It was their time. I said that's crazy for me to believe that
Mhm.
someone would be born, live up to age of 15, and to have someone say, "Well, I guess that was that time." Now that's the one thing I don't believe. That irritates me when I hear people say it was that time. I don't
Right.
believe there's no timing for somebody to leave up out of here. I think it's just like
Mhm.
what you just said. If you're living a certain lifestyle, you're accelerating that process and you're causing bringing all that negative stuff towards you. So of course, your chances of leaving here before anybody else is going to be higher because the lifestyle that you're living. So that's why I don't believe that everybody has a time. I believe that the things that we do, the people we have in our lives, is going to accelerate it or slow it down. Now, I might be contradicting myself because I'm thinking about the time when I was in Afghanistan and the suicide bomber hit. Someone can easily
Yeah.
say it wasn't my time.
Right.
But at the same time, I can come back and say, well, because I was in tune spiritually, whether that was my higher self that told me to move, whether that was God, angel, spirit guide, or whatever, something said move, told me to move.
Mhm.
So, and because I was in tune with myself, I was able to hear it. So if I wasn't in tune and I didn't move, I wouldn't be here. And then people would say that was unfortunate. Well, it's all in God's timing. Maybe that was how he was supposed to go. No, I
Mhm.
was just out of tune and not paying attention. So
Right.
that's why I don't, again, believe that everybody has a time frame. Now, I'm going to say this. because the belief that I follow as far as quantum physics and stuff like that, and a little bit of African spirituality, and some people out there, like Billy Carson is one of them, believes that our higher self, we actually knew, okay, I want to come down as Matthew. I want to have Charles and Greta as my parents.
Yeah.
This is the lifestyle I want to live. But even then, you still don't know how you're going to go through it because you're putting yourself in a place of a challenge. Like, okay, I want to live as a Black male, as an identical twin. This is how I want to experience this life. But it's no way of knowing because you still have to go through the process of living as a human. So it's kind of, to me, I believe it, but then I don't believe it because it's like, it's too many nuances in there. It's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So you're telling me my higher self knew exactly every step or every thing I was going to do. And my higher self knows how I'm going to transition out of here. So in a sense, you can, support that argument where everybody has a time. So it's just so many different things out there. For me, that's questionable. But I'm still going to stand on. I do not believe that everybody has a certain time. I think it's the way we live our life, the choices that we make is going to determine how long we stay.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that too. The only time when it comes for me on the fence is when it's unexplainable situations that happen where, like I said, somebody at the wrong place at the wrong time. Like it's just is what it is. You just at the wrong place. That tells me too. Maybe timing is everything too. If
Yeah.
you wasn't there 2 minutes ago, that car wouldn't have hit you.
Mm-hmm.
If you wasn't in the store, if that person who called you and you to answer the phone, you wouldn't have been in the store when that guy robbed the store. So to me, anyway, that drives me crazy when I think like that. I shouldn't say crazy, but it drives me to think like, damn, what if, what if? That's
Yeah.
where I'm on a fence where I believe that too, that we create our situations, but what about the unexplainable where things happen, where it's like, why did that happen to this person? Like it's an innocent kid and it's just at the wrong place. Now, like you said, why would it be here just to live to be 10 years old and get pass away? Like, how's that meant to happen? So maybe it's just some things that are just unexplainable. And you just it had, like I said, wrong place, wrong time. It's sad to say it that way, but
Okay.
that's how I
Now,
feel.
this may sound bad, but as far as like some children that's abused, now, I don't even go there because that I can't even try to explain. You can't explain that as far as children that's molested and stuff like that. But if you look at it deeply, that also falls on the parents too, as far as what type of parents they are. I mean, I know some people don't have the opportunity of, uh, who they come into this world as with their parents. They can't choose that. Well, going back to what I said, you can, but just as how we believe now, you can't choose your parents. So if you're born into a parents that's living in the low income neighborhood, the father's not there, or the father's there, he's a drug addict or alcoholic, and it's not the child's fault, but it's because the way the parents are living. And so now they bringing children into the world irresponsibly. So they're the collateral damage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that, but that's what it is. They're collateral damage because the parents was living recklessly. They should have never, like we talked about a long time ago, as far as certain people shouldn't be having children. And if they're irresponsible, then unfortunately, that's the outcome of it. In a bad situation, they're going to be around bad environment, bad people. And unfortunately, the odds is going to be bad more over good. And that's, to me, how some of those things happen. So again, it can be preventable. But then it goes back again to if and like I said, you believe God or whatever or higher self, why would you choose to come into this world and say, okay, I want to come into this world with a drug addict as a mom and a murderer and a rapist as a dad? So I'm like, why would you do that? So it's just so many non-blasted what ifs and crazy
Right.
scenarios out there. It's just kind of hard to
Yeah.
even, come up with a rational explanation for it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Hmm. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I think my belief is you reap what you sow. You control, and I know it's such a cliche, but I mean, we control our own destiny. I mean, we can control what we can control. Like I said, if some crazy something happens, wrong place, wrong time, I think that's something you can't sit there and worry about because that's definitely living in fear. That means you're
Mm-hmm.
going to hibernate and seclude yourself from everyday life because you're fearful that something bad might happen consequently. So I feel like live it to your fullest in a positive way that's healthy, enjoying life. And if you that person that you ain't ready for death, then do what you can to control it. And then let dare I say it, let the chips fall where they may. As long as you can control it, you can't worry about the uncontrollable. That's
Mm-hmm.
my firm belief. And that's where I hang my hat on that. Is do what you can to control yourself, your life, and have no regrets. If you do everything the right way, I feel like you can live a good, healthy life, a happy life.
Okay. Well, that's going to about do it for this episode this week. I feel as though it was a good conversation. Hopefully that resonated with some people, not in a negative way, but like I always say, just to get people to think, look at things in a different perspective, and just start looking at life from a different perspective. And so with that, um, beautiful people, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief, you create your own reality. Y'all be good. Love, peace, and light. Until next week, we out.
Yeah.